Good morning, councillors, staff, media and guests, and welcome to our first council meeting for 2025. I'd like to begin by paying respects to the traditional owners of our region and their continuing connection to this land and its waterways, and their elders past, present and emerging. Today we have Reverend Lizzie Parish with us to give us today's prayer.
Good morning, everybody. It's lovely to see you. Very happy New Year. We've just been speaking about hope and peace and love and joy over the Christmas season. But today, as we commence a year where we'll be serving our community, I'd like us to think about courage and endurance and, in the broad sense, faith. I'd like to cast your eyes to the screen, Marion and your very august IT person, and put this clip up.
The Tigray region in northern Ethiopia is known for its assembly of rock-hewn churches. Sculpted out of sandstone, the most wondrous of these is Abuna Yamataga. There's only one way out. We have to climb this cliff face. Welcome to the world's most perilous church. Established in the 5th century, the church is named after its founder and builder, Father Yamada. Perched 650 feet above a steep cliff, some say he chose its location to be closer to heavenly spirits. Others argue it was a strategic move to avoid his enemies. Either way, the church's location, ceiling frescoes, and precious goatskin Bible have attracted worshippers for centuries. The church has 20 clergymen and is managed by this high-ranking priest. He has lived here for over 47 years, and he makes the climb every day. For fearless worshippers, the 2-hour trek to the top begins by hiking to the bottom of the rock from the valley below. Visitors must first remove their shoes before climbing. The final obstacle to the church's entrance can test the most ardent pilgrim's faith. A narrow cliff ledge with a deadly drop to the left, and no room for error. Once through, you may think you're in heaven, but you've never felt more alive.
Thank you, Marion. We can close that now. I admired the lady with the baby on her back. I don't know if I would ever visit that church because I don't think I've got the head for heights anymore. But it does teach us a thing or two about the uphill climb of not just faith, but life as well. There are times in life where we climb fairly steep and uncertain pathways, don't we? Regardless of what we believe, young or old, or rich or poor, whether we are well-paid executives or humble servants, the path is no less steep for anyone by virtue of their rank or their education or their wealth. Sometimes I wonder in our beautiful society whether our prosperity and our success has inured us from adversity to such an extent that we fear the parts of life that require the steep climb, more endurance and more courage for the journey. Early Christians, like those pilgrims dating back to the 5th century, knew life's fragility very well, and in the face of great persecution and campaigns of harassment, they persisted in faith and in courage. To say uphill was normal back then in ways it's not now would be an understatement. Life and love and our work here in community, like faith, is sometimes an uphill climb, isn't it? Yet it's only in these times when our values truly can come to the fore. We cannot talk about courage meaningfully unless we've had to choose courage when we were afraid, when the thought of giving up was easier than the terror of going on, step by weary step, with the tracks slipping away beneath our feet. We cannot talk about compassion and empathy within our Southern Downs community if we are not willing to put it into practice when it is hard to do, when we are not willing so much to forgive for those who wound us. We cannot talk about patience or endurance if we live in a world that expects and gets immediate results and risk assesses its way out of potential conflicts. We talk about patience, we talk about endurance, we talk about courage and hope, but these things are just nice theories on a shelf until challenge or loss or tough times come, when we're putting in place policies that mean the world to us and will help our community, but we are getting pushback. It's only when we choose to live out these things that they become deeply held and deeply practiced values, not only in ourselves, but in the Southern Downs community that we serve. So this is my prayer for us all together, as each of us love and serve the people of the Southern Downs. May faith and courage, may endurance and patience bless you as you begin this council. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Lizzie. Moving on to attendance and apologies, we have everyone in attendance, and I would particularly like to welcome our new CEO, Rachel Brophy, today. Reading and confirmation of minutes, we have a recommendation that the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on Wednesday, 18 December 2024 be adopted. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Richters, and a seconder, Councillor Pigeon. Thank you. All in favour? Unanimous? Thank you. Actions from ordinary council meetings, we have a recommendation that council receive the report and note the contents. Do I have a mover? Councillor McDonald, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Haslett, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Declarations of conflict of interest, do we have any declarations today, Councillor McDonald? What item number?
I have a conflict of interest with
Just item number first.
12.2.
12.2, thank you.
And
Anyone? Oh, yeah.
13.6.
13.6. Any other? Councillor Haslett? 8.2. Councillor Wandling? 8.2. Councillor Bartley?
12.2 and 13.6 as previously declared.
6. Councillor Pigeon? Okay. And 13.6. Yep. Any more conflicts? No. In that case, we'll start with Councillor Wandling on 8.2.
Yeah, I'm president of the Apple and Grape Festival. Once every 2 years, the festival hires the bandstand. I'd like to stay in the room and vote. It is my motion.
Do we have a mover for that request? Councillor Richters, thank you. And a seconder, Councillor McDonald, thank you. Is everyone fine to go to a vote on that? Any comment? All in favour? So I have, you have, yes, those who don't have a conflict will vote in favour, Mary. Yes, because it is just requesting a report, Councillor. Councillor Hustler.
So I also got a declarable conflict of interest on 8.2 as I'm a member of one of the 3 organisations who currently lease the band shell. So I ask also that I be allowed to stay in the room and vote on that matter.
Okay, do we have a mover for that? Councillor Richter, thank you, and a second, Councillor McDonald, all in favour? Those without conflict voted, yeah. Okay, Councillor Bartley on 12.2 and 13.6.
Saleyards and the 13.6 is regards to Saleyards project costs, and as previously declared, of declarable conflict which in regards to Saleyards, as on advice from the OIA, I do have a conflict.
You'll
I'll be
be
leaving
the room. Yes, thank you, Councillor Bartley. Councillor Pidgeon.
Saleyards, as we used the Saleyards previously, and time to time I wish to stay in the room and vote for Lease.
Okay, do we have a mover for that? Councillor Richters and a seconder, Councillor Deane, thank you. Those who don't have a conflict, those in favour? All those without a conflict voted in favour, thank you, Maureen. Is that for both items? Both items or doing separate? Yeah, no, we're doing, for each person with conflict, we're doing 12.2 together. It's been sorted. And Councillor McDonald.
Madam Mayor, 12.2 and 13.6, as I'm a primary producer, and I utilise the Saleyards. I do believe, well, I have been advised that I may be conflicted due to this. The advice I've received from the OIA, however, is contrary to that Councillor Bartley received. As long as I declare, their feeling is that I may be able to stay in the room, so I ask my colleagues to vote.
Okay, do we have a mover for that? Councillor Deane, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Hustler. For those who don't have a conflict, in favour? Thank you, that's everyone without a conflict. Okay, thank you. Moving on to, there is no mayoral minute today, so we move on to notices of motion. We have a first notice of motion that council officers provide a report regarding designated voting areas of Storm and Dan. Councillor Wantling, you're going to move that motion?
Yep.
Do we have a seconder for that motion? Councillor Richters, thank you. As it's relating to a report, I'm going to propose doing that as a formal motion unless anyone has an objection, so that we move to a vote. Is there any objection to that? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. And item 18.2, we have a notice of motion, again to be moved by Councillor Wantling, that council request officers review the current lease arrangements at the Stanthorpe bandstand and prepare a report on safety issues regarding the door structures. Councillor Wantling, you're moving that motion again, yes, and a seconder for that, Councillor Richters.
Can I just ask a question on that one?
Absolutely.
I just would like to know whether or not there should be a merit entered if there's a safety issue regarding the door structures. Do they need attention immediately, or is it something that can be worked on?
Sorry. Yeah, Councillor Wantling.
Yeah, can I speak to this motion, please?
Oh, you'd like to speak?
Yep.
Can you answer the question just put by Councillor Windle, like is there an immediate safety issue that needs merit?
There's definitely a safety issue, but there's a little bit more to it.
Right.
It's been an ongoing thing for about 6 years.
So it's not an immediate safety?
Yeah, definitely, yep. I suppose by doing a report, we'll know when we ask the questions.
Okay, so not a merit, simply a report
That's okay.
being requested, okay.
So it's been continuing for, if I talk to it, I'll explain, so.
I think if we're requesting a report, I'm not sure we need to, do we need to?
Yeah, I'd rather, can I talk to it?
Yes.
So I've been contacted by one of the lessees. They would like an arrangement where if it is hired out privately from Warwick or Stanthorpe SDRC, a process be put in place to make sure they are notified. I think there is a process in place, but it's just probably not working properly, to make sure they're notified, to make arrangements to shift all the drum sets, all the equipment that are in there, because they're worried a lot of this stuff is going to get damaged. They'd be devastated if anything this expensive musical instruments were damaged. Also, cleaning procedure afterwards to be put in place. Each private hire at the moment is just so that they clean it after using. Also, the front door centre uprights have been broken for years. They've been temporarily repaired with a block and tackle style fitting. This is used to lift it up and down. This is very dangerous, and as far as I'm aware, there's only 1 or 2 staff that can actually do this job. I'm not even sure if they'll let us still lift the uprights at the moment, so.
I'd like to speak to it too. Is anyone speaking against the motion?
I'm not going to speak against it. I'd like to propose an alternative, like an amendment.
An amendment?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, propose one, yeah, I suppose move it then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, so the amendment?
Point of order, Mayor, should we have a seconder for the motion first?
We did.
We
Councillor
Richters.
Yeah, we did second it, yes.
So I very much support what the motion is there, Councillor Wantling. I actually think I'd like to see that bit broader, not just to prepare a report on the safety issue regarding the door structures, but to prepare a report on safety
Councillor
issues concerning
Haslett,
the
you
whole
haven't
thing.
put your amendment, you're talking about what you want, so what is the amendment
So the amendment would be
first?
for the second point there, to prepare a report on the current usage, which includes the lease arrangements and all safety and compliance issues relating to the facility, not just the door.
Safety issues regarding the structure, so
The whole of
move
the
door. So safety issues regarding the structure.
Yes, I think there's more issues with that facility than just the doors.
You're speaking to the motion again, so we just want the amendment first. So the amendment is to remove the word door and change it to structure. So you're moving that amendment to the motion. Do we have a seconder for that amendment?
Well, we could also ask the original movers if we're happy with it, but otherwise I'm happy to move the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so we've got a mover, Councillor Haslett, and also Councillor Richters. So Councillor Haslett, I'll let you now explain in full without interrupting you, your reason for the amendment. You can speak for the amendment motion.
Yeah, I agree that there is an issue, and it has been a long ongoing issue with those doors there. They are quite dangerous and they're difficult to open as well. But I think there's a lot more that needs to be improved with that facility without having a full report on it. I can't speak to specifics, but I think there's more at stake here than just the door.
Thank you. Does anyone want to speak against that amendment motion?
I have a major concern. Both councillors have used the word dangerous with the doors. I do feel that it must be something that needs to be attended to without waiting for a report by the sound of it. I just want to make sure that we're not ignoring that issue.
Thank you. The CEO will take that on notice, Councillor Wendell. Anyone else for or against the motion, the amendment motion? So we'll vote on the amendment motion to change it to safety issues regarding the structure. All in favour? That's unanimous. Okay. We now have the amended motion that Councillor Wantling is the mover for. Do we need a second? We go back to vote on the motion.
So the amended motion is one to vote to this.
Oh, okay. So that's
Yes. That is the line motion.
right. Okay.
We have a motion to vote.
Yes. That's good how we do it. Okay. So, sorry. As I will clarify, that was the entire amended motion that was voted on. Is everyone happy with that? Yep. I thought, yes, I was slightly confused.
Do you mind if we actually see it
Voting
written
Yeah.
up there,
It is.
just to be
regarding the structure.
So the point of office
Okay.
amendment.
Yeah.
This then will, I'll just take the words, that will be the actual motion.
That would be the motion rather than.
Madam Mayor, question to the CEO, can we be provided with a copy of the current lease?
Yes. Yes, that's an acceptable request. Councillor Ritters. Okay, moving on then from notices of motion. Reading and consideration of correspondence, we have none. We have no petitions and joint letters. And that brings us to today's portfolio report by Councillor Deane on health and communities. We have a recommendation that Council's health and communities portfolio report be received. Councillor Deane, I presume you're going to move that? Yes, and a seconder, Councillor Windle, thank you. Would you like to speak to the report?
I was up to. Sure. I'll take this report as read. I just wanted to take a moment to make a special mention to the waste management team. I'm really proud of all the work that they've achieved over 2024. They've really amped up the recycling options and the accessibility, which is great to see. And also with the mental health space, we've got an array of fantastic community groups in our region, from Suicide Prevention Network, Habitat, Headspace, and US groups, the Granite Belt Men's Circle and the Warwick Men's Circle. So it's great to see.
Thank you very much, Councillor Deane. I think if we move to a vote on the Health and Communities Portfolio Report, unless anyone has any objections. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 13, item 12.1, the Chief Executive Officer's Status Report. We have a recommendation that Council receive and note the Chief Executive Officer's Status Report. Can I have a mover? Mover, Councillor McDonald, then a seconder. Councillor Pigeon, thank you.
Yeah, I just have a further question on one of the, about the Saleyards Youth Council regarding that signage. The reason that was put forward by Lachlan Corney at the time, his concern was that a lot of people were using, particularly the hockey fields where they're fenced on the grassed areas, they were using them as an off-leash dog park. Therefore, he raised that as an issue and wanted the signage put up. It seems there's a lot of signs gone out, but there is no sign on that particular area, which he specified was a major issue with sporting fields. So I would like to find out, are there further signs to be erected and will they be placed in particularly the spot that he raised as an issue?
Yeah, that would.
And there was meant to be a photo opportunity once the signs went up for Lachlan and the Youth Council, but nothing has proceeded with that either.
I also have a question on 15.2, the Allora Mountain. Just for clarity, there was a reference to off-leash dog walkers. I just wanted clarity. I don't believe that Allora Mountain is an off-leash dog walking area.
Not designated.
Not a designated off-leash dog area, so I just wanted to confirm that was the case. Thank you. Anything else, councillors? Okay, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 12.2, the organisation information reports. We have a recommendation that council note contents of the organisation information reports. Do I have a mover? That. Councillor Deane, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Pigeon. As these are noting the contents of reports, I presume we don't have any speaking against the motion, but are there any other issues for councillors? Yes, Councillor McDonald.
Madam Mayor, just in regards to the Saleyards, I'd like to say that I attended the Lease yesterday. My apologies. I attended the sale yesterday and was very, very pleased to see there was 2,100 head went through, I think in this financial year, that's probably one of the largest throughputs. They were handled efficiently, and I know, and I thank the staff, and also those, the sellers, the buyers, those that are involved, the agencies. They were working until somewhere up to 9 o'clock last night, I believe, in order to get that amount of head through. It was a very impressive sale. The cattle that were there were of great quality from what I was seeing, and it was splendid to see the facility working so well, very well streamlined. So I thank everyone, including our staff, that had to stay back late for working on that, and certainly for all of us that are producers, it's fantastic to see so many numbers going through and the producers being rewarded with good prices for all their efforts.
I'd just like to echo exactly what was just said, but I would also like to thank the staff for their wonderful work on getting the scales up and running. Thank you very much. And yeah, looking forward to a great 2025 out there.
Councillor Watley?
In attachment 1 with finance, I'm glad we received a positive outcome for the non-for-profits. After reviewing the rates policy, some of the non-for-profits organisations now again will receive the concession.
And Madam Mayor, thank you. I would just like to make a comment. I'm particularly noting this when reading the bit about libraries, but it might be relevant to other sections as well. There's a lot of information in this report about the number of people using these facilities and that kind of thing. That's wonderful. There's no information there about the programs that are run by our facilities, and I think that would be of interest to this council group, but also to the community at large. A little bit more detail in where our community services are spending their money and their energies with regards to the actual programs that are occurring.
Thank you,
That's
Councillor
possible
Hustler.
for
I
future
believe
reports.
that with a new CEO, probably all the reports are going to be reviewed in terms of the information provided and what's coming to council. So we will probably be talking about that going forward once the CEO has a look at the reports, and we'll take that on notice for that discussion. Thank you.
And with reference to attachment 3, it's page 29 of the report, the cemetery master plan hasn't been able to go ahead due to a few little hiccups along the way there, but I'd just like to know now that there's going to be further internal collaboration will be undertaken. Do we have a time frame on that? Because I know it's important that we get this master plan in place. It's been needed for quite a long time, so I guess that we couldn't get couldn't outsource anyone to do that, so now it's become an internal thing and staff are extremely busy, but maybe, within 6 months or something, would that be unreasonable?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor. Yes, we did have a lot of trouble getting an external consultant to assist us. We do have some expertise going to assist the team with that. Okay. We're currently doing up a project plan with the timelines and the consultation, and we'll come back to Council with a further update when that project plan is complete.
Okay, thank you.
I have another comment on the financial services part of it. The second point in there says council staff are starting the process for the comprehensive valuation of the artwork, etc., etc. This is the 3rd month running that we are starting the process. So I'm just wondering when that's going to move from starting the process to completing the process or being within the process. That'll take on notice. Thank you.
Anyone else speaking for or against that motion to note the contents, or can we move to a vote on that one? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. And item 12.3, that council note the contents of the quarterly organisation information reports. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Richters and a seconder. Councillor Windle, thank you. Again, it's noting content, so I'm sure that no one wants to speak against the motion, but do you want to speak?
Madam Mayor, I'd just like to point out in the planning and development application quarterly report, despite shortages of staff in the planning team, we've been able to maintain the number of material change of use of building applications being processed. But I'd just like to highlight for everyone that there has been a significant increase in the number of material changes of use in building applications that have been received, which I think should be an early indicator for everyone that things are moving in the right direction.
Thank you, Councillor Richters. Does anyone else want to speak to the motion?
That's 12.3, Madam Mayor.
12.3, Councillor Barney.
Yeah, just the quarterly organisation review. I couldn't help but notice on page 43 of the report, just bringing it up now, 43, page 54, sorry, for our quarterly people and culture report, October to December 24, I couldn't help but notice the reporting officer is a director. Is that correct?
Yes, Councillor Bartley.
I wasn't aware we had a new director.
It's a title change, not a new director. So the manager HR is now the director people, performance and safety.
Sorry, I just had one clarifying question, I suppose. In the comms and marketing section, the risk and opportunity bit, it says there that there's an officer set to end on the 30th of June 2024. I'm wondering if that's a typo and it's meant to be 2025. But if it's 2024, that actually looks to me like almost a recommendation, not just a report on something, but maybe I'm reading it wrong.
What page are you on?
68, page 68, so it's in the risk and opportunity, the risk. 64 if you look at the page numbers on the document, 68 as it sits in that 64. Yeah, sorry, yes, because they don't line up.
The question is that meant to say 30 June 2025?
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
So we
presumably.
assume that
Yeah.
is the case.
Okay, in that case, then
And
it's
then,
an issue for future
Yes,
things, not one that's gone by. That's
not the one that's passed,
fine.
yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I just noticed in 12.3, attachment 1, people and cultures, we've got the highest occupancy in 5 years. Would this figure be included the 9 that's separated? Had they not come out yet over that quarter, or the 9 people that separated, were they still in that figure or not?
As to the highest
Yeah,
occupancy.
yeah, would that figure of that 9 still be in there?
Director, can you take that on?
Through you, Melissa, the 9 people are already taken out of that, yeah.
No worries, thank you.
Thank you.
Just on that, Madam Mayor, we would have our organisational structure, wouldn't we? Have we approved that by resolution of council? Because I think in the Act, under the Act,
structure hasn't changed.
yep, I think under the Act we have to approve that by resolution of council.
The organisational structure we do approve, and the structure has not changed. So a title change is not a change to the structure, as I understand it. I'll defer to the CEO. Yes,
I would have
that's
thought a
correct.
title change would have brought about the required resolution.
No. No, not under the Act, Councillor Bartley. Any more questions? No. Shall we move to a vote on that? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Moving on to item 13.1, the financial services report.
Just go back to 12.3, I've just been asked.
No, sorry, Councillor Watling, but during the break, if you have a question, we can.
No, it's not a question, it's just that they wanted to thank the SDRC for something, that was all.
No, so we've closed the vote now.
Sorry, I didn't hear the question.
No,
Councillor Watling wanted to reopen a motion that we
yeah,
just voted on.
I just said some thanks from the public for something, that was all.
Item 13.1, we have a recommendation that council receive and note the financial performance report as at 31 December 2024. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Richters and seconder, Councillor Pigeon, thank you. do you want to speak for the motion?
I don't particularly want to speak for the motion, but I do have a question. Last month I asked about our trajectory when it came to capital spend, and this month I noticed that our actuals and committed has now dropped below our budget. So can I just get a reconfirmation that we are on track with capitals projects,
And
or close to it?
Yes, we'll take that to the director, yes.
And through you, Mayor Melissa, thanks for the question, Councillor. Certainly the December period is a very hard period to actually match to our projections because we have lots of leave and the Christmas close down. So historically, in all of my experience, it always sits below the line. As I said very openly in the last meeting, we started when I first arrived here at about 4%. We're now doing much better. There's still a big amount of work to be undertaken in that space, but I'm really pleased with the hard work and the acceleration that we've done, as you've seen on the graph there. Is there more work to do? Absolutely. I think the things that we're putting into place in terms of forming a capital PCG, where we're actually going to tightly control all the capital projects and report back to them, is going to be a really good step in the right direction. We've also got vacancies currently in the asset management and project management that we're going to be actively filling as well. So I'm confident that we'll do a good job for the rest of the year. Does it mean that we'll have challenges? Absolutely, with the weather we've had for the last 2 weeks as well. And I think the community accept that as well. So we've had to pull construction crews off to go out and actually undertake some of the emergent flood and storm damage work, which we'll always do. But we want to claw that back and actually produce the best result we can.
Thanks.
Any other councillors want to speak to the motion? Okay, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Now 13.2. We have a recommendation that council adopt the amended 2024-25 budget as presented in the attachments to the report. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Haslett, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Richards, thank you. Councillor Haslett, do you want to speak to the motion? No. Any other councillors want to speak to the motion or a question? Yes, Councillor Watling?
No, I just want a question. Through you, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Capital Works budget, the second quarter review. There's a reduction of various parts and operation projects by 4 million. I think it's due to a fleet. It's a bit concerning, so that there's not we won't turn over that fleet.
Yes, sorry, Councillor. The question to me, yes.
No worries. It's concerning, will there be a financial retribution holding onto fleet for a longer period of time?
Thank you, Councillor Watling. I'll take that to the director.
And through you, Mayor Melissa, and thanks for the question, Councillor. We're doing a comprehensive fleet review at the moment, and as part of that fleet review, we've put on hold some of the acquisitions. There's also, as you're probably aware, fairly large delays still recovering from COVID and production at the moment. So one of the first briefings we'll be doing to our new CO is actually our new fleet acquisition plan, and we wanted to do that to actually get some direction and also look at the utilisation of our fleet as well. We'll be bringing that fleet report back to council probably in March, so we'll have a really good look at it and unpack it as well.
Thank you.
Any other councillors? No. Shall we put that to the vote? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Moving on to item 13.3. In relation to the Allora Precinct project, we have a recommendation that council accept the offer from ICM Construction to complete the Allora Precinct project to a value of $703,456 exclusive of GST, that we allocate a further $103,456 through the third quarter budget review to cover the difference between the current budget allocation and the offer made by ICM Construction, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to negotiate, finalise and enter into a contract with ICM Construction in the form issued with the request for tender as amended by agreement between the parties, and delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to deal with any variations that may occur during the contract term. Do we have a mover for that motion? Councillor Pigeon, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Windle. Would you like to speak for the motion, Councillor Pigeon?
Thank you. This has been a little while coming, but it's exciting that we've got to this point. Thank you, team. It is a great thing for Allora, and it will be well utilised once it's finished. So just to get that ball rolling and get it all up and running will be wonderful for the community. I do appreciate that the extra budget going towards that, is something recognisable, but in the long term, I believe that it'll be beneficial for everyone out that way.
Thank you. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? No? Any more for the motion? Councillor Wendell?
Madam Mayor, yeah, it's unfortunate that there's been an increase, but this is what happens with a lot of projects because of rising costs. It's happening throughout the region, not just this region, but throughout Australia. So we can't really afford to delay this project any longer. We must continue to go forward with this project. It's important to the community, and not just the Allora community, but to other users of those facilities as well from the outlying areas. So I'm looking forward to seeing this process further, and look forward to a good outcome.
Thank you. Anyone else speaking for the motion? I'll speak for the motion as well then. I do think that this has been a long-running project with a lot of community consultation. And while the value has changed, I still feel the commitment that we made to the community through that consultation process is one that is worthwhile allocating the additional budget resource to. So I'll be supporting the motion too. Are we ready to go to a vote on that one? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Now to item 13.4, the Dalveen Hall budget reallocation. We have a recommendation that Council note the submissions made by the Dalveen Sports Club for financial support for activities they believe are Council's responsibility under the lease arrangement. That we note that Council currently has in the 24-25 budget $50,000 of unallocated budget against a future urban development framework program. Approve the reallocation of the unallocated urban development framework budget of $50,000 to the Dalveen Sports Club to use towards a commercial kitchen and other maintenance requests such as ceiling fans, fly screens and gutters, and delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to write to the Dalveen Sports Club advising that any further funding requests will be considered on submission by the club during the budget deliberation process. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor Haslett, thank you, and a seconder. Councillor Richards, thank you. Councillor Haslett, would you like to speak for the motion?
Nothing further to add than what's been presented in the report.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak against the motion? Councillor Bartley?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. $50,000 for a hall that has certainly been well looked after in previous councils. It's had huge amounts of money spent on it in the past. It's been re-roofed. It had a new kitchen put in it some 10 years ago. So a lot of money spent on it. It does look like it's sort of getting well accommodated, maybe a little bit too much. The UDF unallocated budget of $50,000, maybe we over budgeted for the UDF, saying, we've got extra money lying around, let's spend it. That's a bit of a shame. Maybe we need to be more prudent in our budgeting for UDFs rather than find it lying around and find somewhere else to spend it, particularly in a hall. The hall is our is council property, and are we building a rod for our back in the fact that as you improve these facilities, they'll require more maintenance into the future of a larger type. So I think we're spending a lot of money in an area that's had adequate spend on in the past.
Okay, any councillor speaking for the motion? Councillor Richters?
Madam Mayor, I'm supportive of the motion, but I just would like to point out to people that the $50,000, for those who may not be able to remember the discussions during our budget time, the $50,000 wasn't for a new program to be done this financial year. It was for us to achieve some of the outcomes of the existing UDFs that we have. So my only comment to the councillors is that this money is not achieving an outcome of a UDF. The kitchen in Dalveen wasn't part of their UDF. Although I have been to the hall, I think the kitchen probably is well utilised and is deserving of being upgraded. So that's why I'm not opposing it. But I'd just like to, if this money is reallocated in our next budget discussion, I think we should be very clear about whether or not it is there for a new program to be developed or whether it's there for us to help achieve some of the outcomes of the existing UDFs.
Thank you. Are you speaking for or against the motion?
It's just a question.
Oh, your question, yes.
Under the recommendation, part 4, delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to write to the Dalveen Sports Club Inc. advising that any further funding requests will be considered on submission by the club during council's budget deliberations. So that'll come to us, we'll revise that, we'll see that what's happening with that as well.
That will be submissions for the 25-26 budget process. Yep. Yes, so that will come to council as part of our budget deliberations. So yes, that won't just go to the CEO, that will come through the budget process to councillors. Question? Do you have a question? Yes.
As well, and I do support the comments made by Councillor Bartley. But my question relates to dot point 1, that it says that that the Dalveen Sports Club believe that this is council's responsibility. I think we need to clarify. They believe that, or is it in the lease arrangement that we are responsible for this?
Councillor Windle, that's covered in the report,
Right.
I believe. But you weren't clear from the report about the responsibilities?
Well, this seems to be ongoing. These types of things, as Councillor Bartley has alluded to, that this continually comes up from the Dalveen Sports Club, that they dispute the lease arrangements, and I think that we need to make it clear once and for all what is council's responsibility and what is not.
Yes. Look, we can take it on notice for more clarity around those lease terms. Usually capital upgrades are the responsibility of the owner and maintenance is the responsibility of the lessee. So we're dealing with two. The request here where you see it, the commercial kitchen would be a capital project where, however, the fans, fly screens and gutters are maintenance. I think maybe the confusion comes from putting them both in one item, but hence the report saying that maintenance is the responsibility of the lessee. Councillor Haslett, I'm going to come, as the mover, I'll come back to you for right of reply, unless you have a question in the interim. No, good. Okay, does anyone else want to speak to the motion? I'm going to speak to the motion before I come back to Councillor Haslett and say I will be speaking for the motion. I believe, particularly with council assets like the Allora Hall and the Dalveen Hall, that investment to make them more usable spaces for the community and to give the community groups the opportunity to become more financially sustainable by having events and being able to hire out the halls is a really good investment. Most of our halls do now have commercial kitchens. That's generally been done by the hall committees who own their own buildings. In the cases of council, the Allora Hall, their kitchen is capable of being used for commercial functions, and I do believe that as a landlord, that upgrade will actually be very worthwhile for the community and all users of the hall. So I will be supporting the motion. Councillor Haslett, you have a right of reply as well.
Thank you, Ma'am Melissa. You pretty much just took the words right out of my mouth. Nothing pleases me more than community organisations working towards becoming financially sustainable without having to every year ask for grant money, whether that be from SDRC or elsewhere. And for me, this is something that will very, very much help them to do that in the future.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Haslett. We'll move to a vote on that. All in favour? That's Councillors Deane, Hamilton, McDonald, Haslett, Richters and Kitchen. Those against? Councillors Montling, Bartley and Windle.
Can I call a division on that, please, Madam Mayor?
Absolutely, Councillor Bartley, thank you. Moving on to item 13.5, we have a recommendation that Council undertake community consultation to inform the local communities of Leyburn and Killarney that the Sirens have reached the end of their useful life and can no longer be maintained for their intended purpose. Following the community consultation, proceed with decommissioning the Killarney and Leyburn Sirens, and note that in the absence of the Sirens, the emergency alert system that uses the local phone network will be used to notify the community in the event of an urgent need to evacuate due to riverine flooding. Do I have a mover for that motion? Councillor McDonald as the portfolio holder, would you like to move? Absolutely. And seconder, Councillor Richters, thank you. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Well, I think obviously in the CIS we had a briefing in regards to this matter. It comfortably spoke about those sirens now becoming somewhat obsolete technology by comparison to what we have available. So I think with the emergency alert systems, i.e. the signals that come over the phones, etc., people can be contacted that way, and that's either your home phone or your mobile phone. So I think it's a case of technology has now moved forward, and decommissioning is probably an appropriate action.
Thank you, Councillor McDonald. Do we have anyone speaking against the motion? No?
Speak for it, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Considering Killarney very rarely worked anyhow, it's a matter of poor maintenance or the way the system was built. Mud wasps used to build underneath, and when the rising water went to trigger the alarm, it never worked. The local electrician used to advise me of that regularly, that it wasn't going to work, so they're not going to miss something that wasn't working.
Thank you, Councillor Bartley. Anyone else want to speak to the motion?
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to reiterate for people in the community who may be watching our live stream or reading the minutes of today's meeting that we absolutely are not going to leave the communities at risk, and that there's going to be lengthy consultation with the community following this so that they are definitely aware that the sirens will not be there anymore and that they shouldn't rely on them. The emergency alert system that Queensland now uses across the state, it works well. We have already implemented it in this region for previous flooding emergencies, and it's worked well. And I think that we're at least served well by that resource. And I don't think that the recommissioning costs of trying to make these sirens work for a community would not be in the interests of our community, and so that's why I'm supporting it.
Thank you, Councillor Richters. Anyone else speaking to the motion? Okay, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 13.6, the Saleyards project costs to date. We have a Councillor Bartley. We have a recommendation that Council receive and note the Saleyards redevelopment project costs to date. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Deane, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor McDonald. Councillor Deane, do you want to speak to the motion? Does anyone want to speak for or against the motion? Councillor McDonald?
Just a question, Madam Mayor. We're 1.5 million over budget. Could we possibly, through you to the Director, have some idea of how far through the projected entire project we are? So we've got an idea. I know we're at phase 2, we've finished phase 2, we're moving on to the next phase. How much more expenditure is going to be required to get to the end state?
Okay, I'm going to take that on notice. Yeah, we'll take that on notice. Thank you, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone else? No? Shall we move to a vote on that? All in favour? Unanimous, excluding Councillor Bartley, and can we? I'll go. Right, Councillor Bartley, thank you. Item 13.7, we have a recommendation that council pursuant to section 99(1) of the Land Act 1994 offer no objection to the application for a permanent road closure over part of the road reserve adjacent to lot 49 and lot 156 on ML 1683. Do we have a mover for that motion? Councillor Haslett and a seconder, Councillor Pigeon. Thank you. Do you want to speak to the motion, Councillor Haslett? No. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? Anyone for speaking for the motion? Okay, we'll go to a vote on that one. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Moving on to item 14.1. We have a recommendation that council undertakes a public consultation process with the broader community seeking public feedback on the proposed names for the unnamed roads connected to lot 461 on SP 303977, Gilbard Road, Dalveen, proposed to be named Boag, and lot 3 on SP 305799, lot 11 on SP 191086, and lot 12 on SP 182046, lot 386 on SP 208840, 232 Sugarloaf Road, Stanthorpe, Stage 1A, Road 2, proposed to be named Blakely's Red Gum, with Road 3 proposed to be named Rough Barked Apple. Do we have a mover for that motion? But I have questions for Councillor Wintle and a seconder. Councillor Richters, thank you. Councillor Wintle.
I do have one question through you, Madam Mayor. Just with the public consultation, I realise that probably the majority of that notice is put out through our local newspapers, which a lot of people don't see anymore. So I'm just wondering, is there an opportunity to go a bit broader than that and use our local radio as well to get the notice out that maybe they need to refer to the local newspaper for information on this or something, but we need to go a little bit broader with the public consultation because most people are not seeing the notices.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Wendell. We'll take that on notice. It also does appear on Council's Facebook channel. Oh, yes, okay, yeah, we can do that. Okay.
I'd like to further that, Madam Mayor. I also believe, and I could be mistaken, but I also believe it doesn't go on our website.
It goes on I said our Facebook channel.
On our website, that's what I said.
Through you, Madam Mayor, yeah, no, it does, it goes on the FLC area of the website. I get plenty of feedback.
Okay.
I'd like to propose an amendment to it. Can I get this right
Probably.
this time?
To the second point there, I'd like to propose the first name be Blakely's Gum and the second one be Apple Gum. That's my proposed amendment.
The only thing I want to check with that amendment motion
Whether they're okay.
is whether it complies with the policy.
Understood.
Yes, okay. Apple Gum and Blakely's Gum. Okay, we have Councillor Hustler is moving that amended motion. Do we have a seconder, Councillor Richters, for that amended motion? Okay, just get the names again. Yeah, Blakely's
So
Gum.
remove the word
delete the
red. And the second one changed to Apple Gum. It removed the rough bark, but put gum after it.
Yeah, just sorry.
Not at all.
So remove.
I should have let you know sooner.
Yeah, rough bark, and add gum after apple, so it's apple gum.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, can I just confer with our officer in charge of the road naming that we don't have any existing roads that could conflict with those new
I'll have
proposals?
to check.
I did look them up, but that's just my Google research, and there wasn't. There
Just
could
with
be,
the
but
maps.
Okay, do you want to speak?
Yes,
to
please,
that?
I could.
So my reasons for proposing that, I feel like they're already become a little bit cumbersome. Rough barked apple road is a lot to put on a street sign. Secondly, there's already one road in this area which we've talked about being called snow gum, and the idea, as indicated in the report, is that there be a theme of gums. Now, for me, first of all, the red-barked apple, when you look at that, if that was the road name, that sounds like an apple tree. Yes, it is a gum tree, I do realise, but that sounds like an apple tree, not a gum tree. Apple boxes or apple gums are commonly known as apples, but I think that's really confusing. The apple gum is different to the rough-barked apple gum, but they do also grow in that area. They grow in the Mount Tully area and the area around where we're talking about, so I think it still applies in terms of the theme. And the change for removing the red is like, I don't really mind either way, but again, it becomes quite a long and cumbersome street name. And that tree is also commonly known as Blakely's gum. The word red is used sometimes, but not always. So for me, those changes that I've proposed fit better with the theme that is trying to be created, but also make it simpler in terms of the street signage and the understanding of that for people who are trying to find addresses.
Do we have anyone who wants to speak against that amended motion? No, anyone else want to speak for the motion?
I think the apple gums are commonly just all angophorous, and you might correct me on that.
Correct. No, absolutely, yes.
They're all angophorous and they're all over the place, so.
Yeah, it is a very common tree, but if you leave the word gum off, I think a lot of people would be confused about the theme, that's all.
I mean, I raised this in the December meeting when we considered other road name changes, and I've just confirmed it by looking up the have you say that was released for that one. It does not say on there that people can also propose their own names. So it says on there that these are the names that council is considering, but it does not state in there that people can also put up any other suggestions or ideas that they may have. So I'd like to ensure that that is included in future releases.
Thank you, Councillor Richters, will note that. Because yes, I think you're right, the policy allows them to do that, so it should be clear that people can suggest their own name. I would also just like to mention again that we did raise a proposal to have a list of names for when proponents, when applicants don't have a compliant name, and I think that would make this process a bit simpler so that we're selecting from a list rather than having to decide on the day. Does anyone else want to speak for the motion? Okay, so the motion is amended. If we go to a vote on...
So, point of order, Madam Mayor, are we going to vote on the amendment or are we just going to put it as one?
You have, so, yes, through the chair. So you have a live motion on the table at the moment, which is as per is on the screen. And the live motion is point 2, which reads, and if I can just paraphrase this, stage 1A, road 2 proposed to be named Blakely's Gum, with road 3 proposed to be named Apple Gum. That is your motion that's currently on the table.
So to answer your question, we are going to vote on an amended motion, not the amendment, and then the motion as amended.
You've already voted to put the motion on the stage. Yes, so that's the return to us.
So that works.
So, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 14.2, the Warwick Wastewater Treatment Plant. We have a recommendation that Council, following tender assessment, enter into a contract with VG&E for the Warwick Wastewater Treatment Plant Distribution Centre design. The Warwick Water Treatment Plant Distribution Centre design for an amount of $299,588 exclusive of GST, and delegate authority to the Chief Executive Officer to enter into any variations to the contract terms as deemed necessary for the duration of the contract. Do we have a mover for that motion? Councillor Wantling, thank you, and a seconder, Councillor Richters. Councillor Wantling, do you want to speak for the motion?
No.
Okay. Anyone want to speak against the motion? No. Anyone else want to speak for the motion?
Just to draw to anyone that's watching it live this morning, or whether it goes out through the media as well, but this is an example of how much it costs just to do a repair, which would seem to some people to be minor, but it's not really minor at all, but it does produce a huge cost factor to council. So this is just a good example of one of those things that we deal with every day.
Thank you. Any other councillors?
I think it just should be noted how many tenders we actually got back from there was 7 there, which was, that's good to see. That there was a variation there for us to look through.
Madam Mayor, question maybe for the Director. Do we get the unsuccessful tenderers coming back to us and asking for feedback on their tender?
And through you, Mayor Melissa, and thanks for the question, Councillor. Yes, we do give them feedback. We don't the price of the winning tender is obviously open and disclosed, but we do not give the pricing of the unsuccessful tenders, but we give them feedback in relation to their experience or their submission. And I'd also like to add to the previous commentary on the tenders. We were really happy to get 7 tenderers on this design thing. And as we spoke about in the council information session, this distribution centre is a key risk to our water supply in Warwick. All water comes in and leaves at this point, so getting the design done is the first step in getting it shovel ready to actually do the renewal of this distribution centre, which is going to be on the adjoining side of the road. So it's a really important first step for our project.
Okay, I'll take that to a vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 15.1, we have a recommendation that council receive the minutes of the Pest Management Advisory Committee meeting held in Stanthorpe on Tuesday, 26 November 2024. Do we have a, Councillor Kitchen, do you want to move that as the portfolio holder? Yes. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Richters, thank you. Do you want to speak to the motion, Councillor Kitchen?
I just want to note that it's very, that the Pest Management Advisory Committee has been looking at some progressive things in this area, so it's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to what we bring to this committee in 2025.
Thank you. Anyone want to speak against the motion? No. Anyone for the motion?
Madam Mayor, just in regards to the dog issues that a lot of property owners are facing at the moment, we've had an extreme season of fires and also flooding, that being flash flooding. It's caused, from what I can see as a landholder and from the reports that I'm getting, a lot of dogs, or an increase in the number of dogs that have been driven down into the lower country out of the hills. My question would be, how are we doing out of cycle baiting, which may assist farmers, or how do they liaise with the council in order to get that type of assistance so that they can bait those dogs, because they are becoming a major problem in regards to attacking stock, be it calves and sheep.
Yeah, so landowners and farmers can contact our team at any time to do baiting, so we are available at any time to assist with baiting, not just through the coordinated program, so at any time. And as you may know from the minutes from the last meeting, one of our local laws officers has reached out particularly to the dog coordinator in the Greenley area, to was raised about the fires to see, and feedback so far from them was nothing further needed, but happy to take on board and feedback from the community.
Any other councillors on that one? Okay, go to a vote. All in favour? It's unanimous, thank you. We have no reports on deputation, confidential items. Is there any general business? Councillor Tom?
Madam Mayor, just in regards to my position as Chair of the DPG, obviously the region over the last few weeks and months has been bombarded, and I would say that quite honestly with different disaster